So I want to talk about 8 things that I've learned going from zero, complete beginner, to $1,000 in Facebook Marketplace dropshipping, okay? First and foremost, we have that you want to adjust your prices slowly on products that are getting a lot of views but not selling, okay? One of the easiest ways to pick up sales that I've seen, especially like once you get into it and you've been listing for a week or maybe even longer than that, right? Is go back down to like some of your older listings and see which ones that you've never gotten a sale on but have a lot of views, because typically that means that there's a lot of interest there, but maybe, not always, maybe the price is what's holding people back. Maybe they think it's overpriced, maybe they're doing research elsewhere and they can get a better deal or something like that, right? So drop the price. It doesn't have to be a lot, it can be, but check your supplier, check if there's a better margin or a worse margin that you can take if you drop the price, but then that might prompt some sales, okay? This is one of the easiest ways that I've made sales. I did this just last night in my own business. I went down to like, not the very, very end, because I did that a couple days ago. And I don't do this every single night, but like sometimes the prompt sales, I'll try this out because I'm still trying to, I'm kind of treating it like a scientist, right? Like I'm mixing in different things. I'm taking action in a certain way, and I'm like mixing variables in there and then seeing like, okay, what comes as a result of this? This seems to really work, right? So for example, if there's like a product I have that's like $45 and my margin is like $15 on that because I can get it somewhere else for $30, right? And it has a lot of views but no sales. Maybe I drop the margin to $10 and now I'm selling it for like, or even $9, right? Like $39, and I'm making $9 on that. That's still almost a 25% profit margin on that item, right? So little things like that, adjust your price and slowly lower it if you're getting a lot of views on items and listings but not selling them, okay? That's the first thing I've noticed. Go after the low-hanging fruit, tends to work well, okay? Now, the next thing I noticed, I actually realized fairly recently, and that's that your location matters when you're listing items, okay? And for the longest time, I literally just it just sets your location there because it like pings your IP address and where you are and your hometown. So like I was listing from, where I'm at in PA, but I've noticed that your location when you actually list matters. Now, so when you go in and search Marketplace, you can change your location, and I'll touch on this in a future point as well. And I've also touched on it in a past video as well. But actually when you're listing, when you're on the last page of your listing, so I think it's the second one, when you're about to publish your listing, there's a little thing at the very top, I think it's like the second one in there, that says your location, right? So where you're listing it from. Now, because Facebook Marketplace primarily started as like an in-person, like local meetup kind of exchange thing like Craigslist or OfferUp, your location mattered a lot when you listed the item because the people around you and close in proximity to where you're listing it from are going to see that more frequently than somebody across the country or, farther away from you, right? And this is also very, very true. I don't have any proof of this, but I have seen anecdotally, remember I said I'm like a scientist, like I have seen that like I'm getting a lot more views. I haven't actually looked at like the sales specifically, but like it would lend me to believe that obviously I have a better chance to sell things if I'm getting a lot more views listing from places where like New York City, for example, right? So I probably live like 2 hours outside of New York City, like right outside of Philly, but like if I list in the mornings, right, because I live on the East Coast, when like a big city like New York City is like kind of waking up like me and they're on the same time zone, if I list like super early out in LA, which is also a big city, and I say my location is LA, none of those people are going to see it because most people over there aren't up, right? But if I list in New York super early and then, I get the majority of people in a big city, so there's a lot more population there, and also they're on my time zone, so I know that they're awake, I'm gonna get a lot more views because the people, close to New York are gonna see those listings, and it's really gonna give my items a lot more visibility, right? And same thing for like later on, right? So like if I'm listing later on, there's really only 2 times I really list. I don't really like focus on this too heavily. It's just kind of like something I'm playing around with and interested in because I've seen that it works, and also like it's new and exciting to me. But there's really only 2 main times I list. Like super early in the morning when I'm working out, like in between sets, and then late at night for like an hour-ish before I go to bed, just to kind of play around with it and see. So those are really the only times that I'm actually doing this, you know, and listing in this. And so when early in the morning, I'll list and say that I'm in New York City, and I've seen that that works a lot better because obviously there's a ridiculous amount more people in the population of New York City than the small town where I live, right? And that might be true for you as well, okay? And then later at night, I'll list out in LA because it might be 10 o'clock here or 9 o'clock here, but people are just getting off of work or just getting home out in LA. Again, big city, a lot of population, and when you're shipping, it doesn't really matter, okay? So play around with that. That's the second thing I've noticed, that your location matters when you list. It's the easiest thing, like when you're on your second page of your listing, change your location to a populated city. You can go near you can try a bunch of different things, but I've seen that this works well. It doesn't have to be New York, doesn't have to be LA. Play around with it. You will probably see similar results, okay? The third thing is that you wanna try, and I've touched on this before, you wanna try to list or avoid listing, from generic sites like Amazon, Walmart, and Home Depot, okay? There's nothing wrong with them. They work very, very well. And especially, you know, if you have something like Amazon Prime, that's a completely different like topic that I don't really want to get into. And you're actually using your Prime account to drop ship to other buyers, which, you know, you can get not in trouble for, but they can shut your account down eventually if you do that. I personally don't do that, and I don't recommend that people do that. You can kind of throw a couple in there every once in a while. It's totally fine if you're ordering a lot of products to you anyway. But I definitely wouldn't just use your Prime account, and like if you're ordering like 20 things a day to like different addresses using Prime, they're going to catch on to that pretty fast, I think, and I don't think that that's going to work very well. Also, it's not a very long-term way to build your business, okay? But the margins obviously on Amazon are great. The descriptions are great. The pictures are great. You have a lot of things to work with. The prices are great. There's a lot of products on Amazon. Same thing with Walmart. Same thing with Home Depot. They're phenomenal, okay? They're also reputable companies. The issue with that is everybody else is listing from them. So you're gonna, you know, you might not be in a very saturated, you know, category or saturated product or saturated niche now, but as more and more people get into this, and I've started to see this, you know, if you look at like some of the products that I've listed from Amazon specifically and from Walmart, chances are you can find them on eBay for cheaper, or you can because someone's drop shipping them with a less margin on eBay, right? And you can also a lot of times find them on Facebook Marketplace from a different person, okay? So if that different person is listing it in a different location, other different people might be seeing that, and you still might be all right. But the whole key here is try to avoid those, because if you want to build a long-term business and you want to do this like sustainable long-term where your listings have more life than just listing them for like a week or two, you want to list from other sites where you're not competing with as many people. So try other sites. Don't just list always. You can still use them, but don't just list always from Amazon, Home Depot, and Walmart, okay? Number 4 is that you need to follow up with orders to get reviews. So it's not like Amazon where they'll hit you with like a question of like, do you want to review this order? It's not like eBay where they'll hit you with a question of like, do you want to review this order? Or Mercari or Poshmark or OfferUp or anything like that, where you're gonna get orders just for, or you're gonna get reviews on your thing just for selling, at least I've seen. You need to follow up with a lot of these buyers in order for them to review you, and reviews are huge on any platform, but obviously especially with a new platform like Facebook Marketplace, where people don't just, you know, inherently trust random other people on Facebook Marketplace as much yet, right? It's not like somewhere like Amazon where like people don't even think about the packages that they're buying because they just trust that Amazon's gonna deliver them to them. They know that they can always get a refund, and there's just that inherent like built-in trust. It's not like that yet on Facebook Marketplace, obviously, because it's still very, very new. And so your reviews matter a lot more, especially in the beginning, okay? You need to follow up with orders to get reviews. I have like a simple little script I just copy and paste like probably a couple days to a week after somebody gets the item delivered, and you can go back into like your shipping orders and like see when it's been delivered, and then message those people like a couple days later, okay? And I don't do that every day. I do that every couple days and just message the people where their orders have been delivered. I follow up with them, and that's a lot easier way to get a review, okay? Now, number 5 is that if you go into Facebook Marketplace from your phone, or also from the computer, I think, but I know for sure from your phone, you can see a lot of the hot items that Facebook is pushing now that seems to be getting sales. What you can do is you kind of like check that every a couple times a day randomly. It's not hard to just pop on your phone and like look at Facebook Marketplace to see what they're suggesting you, because chances are what they're suggesting you, if you keep seeing items like that, are selling very, very well, and that's why they're putting them on the home pages of those specific categories and the home pages of Facebook Marketplace, okay? Number 6 is that other sellers can actually see the products that you're selling on Facebook Marketplace, specifically if they find your profile, and then potentially reverse engineer your best sellers, okay? So for example, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, so what I can see is like if somebody's posting in one of those Facebook groups, and I don't specifically do this, but I did take it a step further than the last video I talked about it, and I know that you can actually do it now if I wanted to. You can see, like, if you're in a Facebook Marketplace group that's like a bunch of drop shippers and somebody's always talking about like how they have a lot of sales, they have a good day, which if you're in a Facebook group like that, you will see that. What you can then do is you can then figure out, you can click on their profile, number 1, and first and foremost, most of the time it's going to tell you where they're located and what city they're in. Then you can literally go to Facebook Marketplace, into the search bar, search for their name, and then expand it out like 500 miles with your radius. And the first couple ones typically will be that person or that seller, right? Then you can find their profile, see all their listings, and reverse engineer what they're selling, figure out their supplier, and slightly undercut them for all those sales yourself, okay? Now, I don't do this because I think it's a lot more effort necessarily, and I think it's better off to just like list a bunch of things and see what works for you and what sells for you. But you can do that because it's not like somewhere like Amazon, it's not like somewhere like any other place like that where you can kind of hide behind a seller profile or change it and people won't necessarily know where that is, okay? And this is also true if like you're like me, for example, like you're creating tutorials and showing your profile. Other people can obviously go search that in Facebook Marketplace and figure out what you're selling, find your suppliers, and list all those same products, okay? So just keep that in mind. I don't know if a lot of people know that or a lot of people realize that. I'm not personally doing that, but it is something that you can do and that other people I'm sure are doing. That ties me into number 7, which is you don't want to delete old products. Now, there's 2 reasons for that, okay? First and foremost, because of the fact that other people can kind of search through, you never want them to be able to know specifically. It's a lot easier if like you have 15 products to reverse engineer those 15 products, right? If you have a couple hundred products or 1,000 products, nobody's going to go in and nobody's going to be able to know specifically which products are selling well, and that's one reason why you don't want to delete listings, because it's not like eBay where like you can see the sales on products on those specific pages and how much they've sold recently, right? So that's one of the reasons you don't want to delete old products, okay? The second one is that I have seen that like old products do get sales, right? So there have been plenty of times where like listings that I listed like a week or 2 ago have been like pretty much dead in my opinion, and I'm like on the verge of going to delete them, but then like a day or so later they sell somehow even though they barely had any views, okay? So that would lead me to believe that listings are never really dead. They do sit there, and their shelf life, obviously you're gonna get a lot more visibility and views initially when you list them and like close to when you list them, but that would indicate that they're never actually fully dead, especially if you're renewing them. And even after you renew them, they're still like live on the marketplace. It's just they might be like hidden down in search a little bit. And so I have seen that you can specifically get sales on old items. And I'm honestly not sure that Facebook is like eBay in a way where like they're tracking your store's sell-through rate. I don't have any proof of that. That's just my opinion, but that's 2 reasons I wouldn't recommend. I've heard other people recommend the opposite. Me personally, if things change, I'll let you know, but I recommend right now not deleting old products for those 2 reasons. And finally, number 8 is to keep listing. One of the things that I've heard everybody talk about that's had success with this, I've seen it myself as well, and obviously beginners get discouraged very easily, is just keep listing, okay? Most things that you list won't ever sell. Most things that you list won't ever really get much attention, and that's totally fine. The few items that do take off eventually, it doesn't matter if you're listing 20 things, it doesn't matter if you're listing 100 things or a couple hundred things, the few items that do take off will make up for all the other listings, okay? So keep listing, it will work out for you.